Well, hello everyone. This is Naomi Tucker. How is everyone doing today? Welcome to Book Club. Happy Book Club. Happy Cinco de Mayo. It's so good to have you here today and to be talking about this book that we have all been reading for the last month or so, called Think Again by Adam Grant. So I am excited to be sharing a little bit with you about the book, and I cannot wait to hear from you as well. So if you are here live or if you're here on the replay, I just ask for you to go ahead and put a hashtag live or put a hashtag replay in the chat. I would love to know if you're participating and just want to be able to see you. And regardless of how you're participating, I absolutely welcome you. Very excited to be able to discuss this book and hear about your insights. As always, on the Planners on Purpose Book Club, we just like to bring, or I just like to bring different books to you so that we can empower ourselves to live more intentionally, so that we can lead a life that we love, and that we are always just trying to do a little bit better. So I'm excited for you to be here. And if you are here, say hello in the chat. Say hi to me. I would love to see where you're joining from and see your physical name that you're here in this space today. And go ahead and give a shout out in the chat. So I'd love for you to be able to do that. So if you have your margaritas, I encourage you all to bring your margaritas for this particular event, because we're just uplifting the Mexican culture. So I'm all about that. So with that said, did you bring your margarita? I know that I did. And I'm actually drinking on a spicy pineapple margarita. It's actually one of my favorites. So very excited about that, to be having a little something while I'm talking with all of you. So I want to hear if you do, or if you're here, and if you are, having a beverage, what are you sipping on? Put that in the chat for me. There's so many different types of margaritas. I feel like there's cucumber lime, there's strawberry, coconut, Grand Marnier, so many good ones, right, to choose from. And just want to hear about what you're actually having right now. Like I said, I'm having a spicy pineapple margarita. It's really lovely. It's actually one of my favorite types because, and I found it out by happenstance. I had never had a spicy pineapple margarita before. And I actually was at an event. I was planning an incentive program that was in Banff. And for those of you that don't know where Banff is, it's in Alberta, Canada. It's a really majestic destination to travel. If you haven't been, I really encourage you to go ahead and do it. And a colleague and I went into town, this little downtown area, and we went to get some dinner. It was at a place called the Park Distillery. Very popular location, but it was such an amazing place to dine, amazing views, and they put us in this amazing location within the venue, big plush leather chairs, and we had a long day. We were setting up all day. Many of those that are here in the event profession, how long those setup days can be. It was just exactly what we needed. So as you probably guessed, this was one of the specialty beverages at this place, and they make their own distilled vodka. And it was just the atmosphere. I don't know if it was the atmosphere or if it was the particular margaritas that they were offering, but it was really what I needed. So that's it. You've heard the story of my spicy pineapple margarita and how I came to love it. And I'm pretty sure you have a story around your beverage and why you like it so much. So if you would like to enlighten us with that, you just let me know. But sometimes we just experience things that make such a profound impact on us, and they're memorable. And it doesn't matter which location it was that you experienced it. It just seemed to have an imprint on you. So that is what Banff did for me. I always think about that. So that is what I am sipping on today. So let me just see. Again, thank you all for being here and for joining me here on this book club. We are talking about Think Again by Adam Grant. And I really wanted to be able to talk to this book. I've highlighted so many areas within the book itself, and I wanted to really discuss them with you. So just some ground rules. I hate to call them rules, but just some let's set out the space for us today. I would just love it if you would go ahead and engage. Just engage with me. This isn't about me. Even though I'm putting this on, I want it to be more of a discussion and an engagement versus a lecture, but I'm happy to just go ahead and deliver my points. And I would be opening the stream for you if you want to come on live with me and you want to be able to share some of your points. I would encourage you to come on. Just all you have to do is just jump on, tell us your name, your role, maybe where your workplace is, and then just share your points. It would be awesome if you could do that. And then for those that are my top engagers, I'm giving away a couple of prizes for those top engagers today. So I'll do that towards the end of our discussion. So please stay until the end to claim your prize. You will have to claim it, and go ahead and send me a message with all of your info so I can send you this prize. So I'll have, like I mentioned, a couple prizes for those that are top engagers with me today. I would love to be able to deliver that to you. So that's all I had before we got started. Again, welcome those of you that are here with me today and that are just let us know if you're here. Go ahead and put something in the chat and let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and let me know what you think about this book called Think Again by Adam Grant. And I just want to know things like, did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you read it? Or did you not read it? Sometimes we come to book club and we don't even read the book, and that is okay. There's lots of grace given. We just really want to have that discussion about some of the concepts in the book. So go ahead and let me know, and I'll make sure to acknowledge you in the chat. So before we get going here, I wanted to tell you just a little bit of a story on how I found out this book and how it came to be a book club selection. For those of you that aren't on Clubhouse, you probably should be. I know some people are saying the app has probably lost some of the fire that it had initially, but it probably has still a little bit left in it. But one of those first few weeks that I was on the app, Adam Grant was actually on there and was given an interview and was in what's called a room on Clubhouse. And it was great because he was talking about this book. There was lots of discussions that were happening about the book itself. And there was just so much inspiration in that conversation. The group was talking about vaccinations. They were talking about the pandemic. We were talking about the workspace and the workplaces that are being rethought about now that we have been in this pandemic and coming out of it. So it was such a great opportunity to hear a little bit more insights from him and everyone that had either read the book or were thinking to. So that's really why I picked the book up, and I said, you know what, I think this would be a really great book club selection, because I think that for the event professional world, and probably for our world in general, we should be rethinking how we are going to be moving forward. And I know that there's many discussions about those very things. So it just really helps to push you to be able to align your life where you are actually rethinking that you're not assuming, and we'll get into all of that. But that is one of the reasons why I picked up his book, and that I really enjoyed listening to it. So again, thank you all for joining. And again, if you enjoyed the book or not, I would love for you to put it in the chat. If you're here, and don't be shy, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let me know where you're watching from. So I will go ahead and get into some of my insights. So the first insight is that I did tell you that I really enjoyed the book. And the book, like most of some self-help books, was filled with a lot of different facts, but then also it was supplemented by different stories. And I felt like with this book, I identified with many of the stories that were in the book, and some of them I didn't have the feels for. However, they were very insightful as well. So I feel like many people would probably have that same takeaway. There were lots of stories for different people that had different backgrounds and different thoughts. So it was great to be able to really take all of that in. So it was a quick read for me. I read books really quickly, so I don't know if that means anything. So I did read it in a couple of days. So that was good. It went at a very nice pace. It was a very nice pace for me when reading it. And this book, I did read the physical book. So I know for those of you that follow me on Instagram or right here on Facebook, I put out a little feeler to see, do you like physical books or do you like audiobooks? I did a physical book for this particular selection, and it worked really well for me because it really went at a very good clip. So that is really what I thought about the book, and very interested to hear about your thoughts in the chat. Check it. All right. So one thing that I found was really interesting about Adam Grant was the fact that I didn't know anything about him before reading this book. And there were certain elements of him that I didn't know, even being in that Clubhouse event. So I was anxious to learn about him, who he was, who is this guy, Adam Grant, that I've never really heard too much about. He did write a book previous to this called Original that was very popular. Again, I had no clue. So I might go back and reread those books. But it was interesting to hear about his early days at Harvard. And he was the co-founder of the first online social network at Harvard. And he said that the group that he was with when really setting up that online network really abandoned the idea of that network early on, and they shut it down as soon as they got into Cambridge, into the city, or into the school. And 5 years later, Mark Zuckerberg comes along and he starts Facebook, which is the same type of online social network at the same campus. So really, Adam was talking about that his group that they had before really missed a series of chances to rethink that platform, rethink the online social network. And then they made an assumption that network was really a passing hobby, and it wasn't going to be a huge part of the future of the internet. So that was their assumption. It wasn't really tested, but it was an assumption that they had made. So it was just really great insight off the bat that Adam Grant, in his research, he had a huge insight for the basis of the book. And the whole book is around this theme of don't assume, rethink. So don't always assume that things are going to be like it is, or that you just have a hunch that something will or will not be a certain way. Actually take the time and rethink that, and do the work to prove your assumption right or wrong. So my first question is, what do you think about that? I thought that was a pretty cool background information that I didn't really know. And perhaps you've been close to a revelation or a creation or a development, and you've assumed. So make sure that you don't make those assumptions, because sometimes when you make assumptions, you do not get anywhere. So let me know what you think about that. It would be great to hear from you. So a question that I also have is, how was your business? Was your business slow or was it fast to rethink during the pandemic? And go ahead and put that in the chat too. Just say slow or just say fast. Let me know what you think. There was some discussion in the book about business owners and leaders around the world, and how many of them were slow to rethink their assumptions. And for most businesses, that could have been life or death, or a pause of their businesses. So rethinking can be tough. It can take a risk to make the decisions that are needed to be made, but it can reap amazing results if you follow through. So For example, I know one of the popular restaurants here, I live in Appleton, Wisconsin, is Mark's East Side. So big shout out to Mark's. It's a really great, great restaurant, known for its fish fry Fridays. But big shout out to them. But they did not miss a beat. It had been no later than a month after the shutdown occurred that they rethought a total different way of doing their business. They are a super popular, super popular restaurant. But just like that, they thrived and they have made more during the pandemic than they ever have. So they had a limited menu. They divided up their parking lot, did several drive-through lanes. They had their staff masked up and bam, like everyone feels safe. Everyone's getting what they need. And they rethought it very quickly. So in some cases, in doing that, you have to combat, let's say, your personal fear and your assumptions that perhaps it isn't safe or there isn't a way to do business. And you really have to challenge those assumptions and find another way. And that's exactly what Mark's Eastside did. And it's probably one of the reasons why they thrived. So I wonder, how was your business during the pandemic? Did you all make a quick decision or did it take some time? And how was that effect on your business? So if you're here or if you're coming through on the replay or if you're thinking about it a little later, definitely come back and pop it up into the chat. Another theme here is about the social justice challenges and issues that are occurring. And many businesses had the opportunity there to rethink those. And I wonder how businesses did with that. It took many people a long time to respond to some of the challenges. I know some people thought that it wasn't their place to respond. And then later on, it seems as though they were being held accountable if they did not respond. So those are some things as well that was talked about, I think, earlier on in this book about some of the calcified ideologies that can be tearing, let's say, the American culture apart. And you would think even globally, as a global culture, some of those things are hard to break apart. Some of those ideologies, those thought processes, and trying to present new lines of thought and change into the mix can really challenge so many people's assumptions. So that was one of the different insights that I also had as well. So there were some assumptions, I think, also when it came to virtual, face-to-face, and hybrid events that we've had, and would love to hear about how your different organizations are doing that. I was a part of an event today called Fast Lane. Big shout out to Liz King with Techies Talk. If you aren't a part of her group, I would just encourage you to go ahead and do that. It was a really great event. It was really talking about technology, talking about future, present, where it's going. And I think that it really played well with what I was reading with Adam Grant's book, because many years ago, I feel like we had a lot of assumptions about technology in the event planning space. So we were saying that, technology was too expensive. Maybe the organizations won't see the value, that it was too complicated or it would be too stressful. And even with the pandemic, this all has changed. And it has us rethinking those assumptions, and especially about hybrid in itself. Right now, we're seeing even current assumptions being made in the space of event planning. So for example, we have the assumptions of hybrid is too expensive. It's too expensive to do a hybrid event, or virtual events are going to go away once in-person events are allowed, and we're going to be back in business and no questions asked, and all the business is just going to be flowing to us, right? Those are assumptions. They're not been proven to be true. And sometimes, like this book is saying, we want to be able to challenge those assumptions, really get out there, really test it, really see how we can push things forward, see how we can change the framework on how meetings are done, because we shouldn't always just do it the same way, because we risk really being overconfident, right? Which is what this book also talks about. So, um, it's really interesting to see how, you know, the assumptions that we currently have right now are playing along with that, what Adam is talking about in his book, Think Again. So, so yeah, let me know what you think about that. Awesome, thank you. So what other assumptions do you see? Now we have some assumptions too about our workplace and the virtual workspace, the in-person workspace. Those are some things as well that there's assumptions being made, right? So how about going back to work or being virtual? There are many people that, because of the necessity, their businesses have said, okay, you're working from home. Well, now that things are going back, people are saying, hey, we're going back to work. But now there's some disgruntledness happening. There are a lot of discussions that are happening about that. So you've seen some early adopters like Google. You've seen them relax their work from home policy. You also see Dropbox. Dropbox is now allowing all employees to work from home indefinitely. There are several other companies who did rethink it during the pandemic and just made a decision. They rethought it. They made a decision, and they're going forward with it. And some others are sticking with what they know, right? And sticking with what was normal. And it would be interesting to see how that's going to affect the workplace moving forward, because I know there has been a lot of discussion, especially on the internet or the interwebs, people say, about going back to work and how it doesn't make sense anymore because you know how to do it now virtually. Why would you go into work? There has to be some type of, maybe even a hybrid situation when it comes to the workspace too. So that is something as well. So are you seeing that also in your workspace? Would love to hear from you on that, and if you're seeing that happen in your workspace. So again, if you're just getting in, I would love it if you would go ahead and just put down who you are and where you're watching from. And, today is Cinco de Mayo. Like I said, I'm celebrating with a little bit of margarita on my end and spicy pineapple margarita, as a matter of fact. So if you are, I would love to be able to hear from you as well. And hear about your insights from the book. Okay. Amazing. So what I'll do is I'm going to send over, if you would like to come on and just let me know, if you would like to come on live, go ahead and do so. I did go ahead and put that link in the chat. I would love for you to be able to come on live with me and just let me know what you think about the book. It would be great to have a dialogue about it. So I will go ahead and move on while you all go ahead and type something in the chat for me. So another insight that I had is around the area of confidence. So Adam talked about confidence and this thing called the confidence sweet spot. And it was really interesting with that. And the confidence sweet spot is really when you're not too confident, but where you have a blind arrogance, because some people just have this arrogance because they're overly confident, and you can't be wrong, right? You have this arrogance that you can't be wrong. So the confidence sweet spot is when you're not too confident, but then when you're not too uncertain that you're debilitating yourself with your uncertainty. So it really is kind of goes in between both of those. In that sweet spot, it is explained that it helps your ability to achieve a goal, but then it also helps you maintain the humility to question whether you have the right tools in place. Because the idea is that if you have this blind arrogance, you aren't able to rethink. You're not able to see the other possibilities. However, if you have a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of humility, it allows you to be able to challenge your confidence. right? And that's what we need in terms of rethinking so that we can get to a higher place of thought. And those higher places of thought obviously produce, probably even more creative things or more evolved things. So I thought that that was very interesting. He talked about having faith in in our capability, while appreciating that we may not have the right solution or even addressing the problem. Right. So that's kind of what it is. You're capable in doing what you need to do, but you appreciate that you don't have the answer. And then you're able to go ahead and seek out that answer or hear other people that potentially may have that answer for you. So that is as well is kind of what he was talking about, which really leads into the whole conversation around imposter syndrome in the book. And imposter syndrome is really where there's lots of doubts around yourself, on you and how you're presenting yourself to the world. You don't feel like you have that you're capable. You don't feel like you have the experience, and all of these doubts start to come in your mind when you have imposter syndrome. However, Adam Grant is saying that imposter syndrome could possibly be something that's a good thing for us. And I thought that this was interesting because a lot of people, especially a lot of thought leaders out there, a lot of gurus out there, they tell you to ditch the imposter syndrome, climb over it. But Adam is saying that, hey, that imposter syndrome can very well help you, because where you are when you're exhibiting that imposter syndrome is you're at that confident humility that he's talking about. He says that having imposter syndrome, it can motivate us to work smarter. And when we don't believe we're going to win, we usually are rethinking our strategies. We have nothing to lose by doing it. And it pushes us into this beginner mindset and leads us to question all of our assumptions. So it actually encourages us to seek insights from others, and we're better for it. So that's pretty cool. It made me really think a lot differently about imposter syndrome and say, hey, you can use imposter syndrome to your advantage, because you know that you're capable, you know that you're able. You probably lack the confidence, but you can use that lack of confidence as a stepping stone to be able to challenge your assumptions and to ask questions and seek for better understanding, where you come out probably in a better place. So I thought that that was really a really good thing. And I really enjoyed rethinking imposter syndrome and really, challenging what I've learned about it and unlearning what I think about imposter syndrome, or what I've learned about imposter syndrome, for a different understanding about it. And I appreciate that within this book. Okay. So again, I would love it if you're here to let me know what you think about Adam Grant's book, which is Think Again. We've been reading this book for about a month, and we're here to just hang out and to talk about the book, gives insights. I hope some of these insights definitely help you. The whole goal is that it helps you really think about your world, think about your business, and come out with some bullet points that you can take back and help transform your work and your business. And so that's what it's all about. It's lifelong learning. I'm all about lifelong learning. To tell you the truth, if I didn't have this book club, I probably would still read that book, because I love reading so very much. So I'm always kind of learning and reading, and it just makes me happy. So, all right. So we will keep on going. Now, Adam Grant also talks about relational conflict, and that was also a part in the book that I felt like was a really just amazing thing, because he talked about relational conflict, but then also about conflict that happens with the task conflict. And when you look at low performing groups were very high in relational conflict. They just didn't get along. Plus they have conflicts with the task. And when you combine both of those, it wasn't a high performing team. However, with the high performing teams, they had minimal conflict when it came to relationships, but perhaps they did experience task conflict, which is pretty normal. And those groups really were high when it comes to their performance. So it really opens it up to say, if you have diversity of thought, that really helps you to be able to come into a different higher level of looking at the task that you're trying to complete. So, and it really helps you when you're thinking about a group situation, and you have to get groups together in order to work on projects together. Having a diverse group can maybe there might be some task conflict because you have different people looking at it in different ways, but those people help us to point out the blind spots, or they help us with our weaknesses, or they can activate rethinking cycles, and they push us to humble out on our experience and doubt our knowledge and be curious about new perspectives. So that's what a high performing team does. So if you do have teams that you're working in, it's always good to have diverse thought within the team to welcome that normal healthy conflict that's around the tasks, so that you are able to come to a better understanding, a better event, a better project, whatever it is. So I thought that was really key to pull away, because we do need that. We do need that. I guess that little conflict, right? We need that conflict within our time when we're working in groups. So do you tend to agree with that when you're working with your teams? Do you tend to agree that having diverse teams is very important? Has that worked for you in the past? I would love to be able to hear from you what you think about that. Okay. So also in the book, if you read it, there is a section on debating and negotiating, which I really felt was very useful, especially if you're doing any negotiating. If you're a meeting planner, we're doing negotiating all the time, especially even if you're a supplier. Everyone does some sort of negotiation in their work. But this particular thing is all about it's all about debating. It's all about negotiating. And so there is a very insightful area within the book, and it presented us with saying to treat your arguments like a dance and not a war. So I thought that was really interesting. And it also talked about sometimes you can come into arguments with people that have, let's say, these stereotypes, right? Different stereotypes are going to lead to a lot of arguments. So how do you get out of that? How do you get out of challenging a stereotype? The first thing that Adam says is we probably want to do this in person and not, don't do it over email or anything like that. You might want to do it in person or on a phone call or something like that. I think that stereotypes are really embedded into how we do things, and the decisions that people make, and it can be very hard to steer somebody into one line of thought to another. So really trying to challenge these mindsets. The book really talks about some of the art approaches that you can come at different arguments, and particularly taking a scientist's approach instead of being more of I think he said a prosecutor or a preacher or a politician or something like that. Maybe take more of a scientific approach and ask questions. Find common ground is typically where you would want to do when it comes to challenging someone else's thought process. All right. So, and then finally, I loved the whole idea of rewriting the textbook. Towards the end of the book, he talked about rewriting the textbook, and how, lectures and really isn't a way that people should learn. It should just be 20, 30 minutes. And then after that, you probably want to be in a space of more active learning. And so I found that to be useful as well. And it was really interesting. And I don't know if those of you that are here that actually read the book also thought it was interesting, is really talking about some of the challenge, the NASA, I think it was NASA stories with the Challenger and I think it was the Challenger. What was the other one? Columbia. Yeah, it was the Columbia incidents. So in both of those incidents, it was rather fatal. And in both cases, there's small opportunity where there were some missed assumptions, right, by NASA, and those missed assumptions, unfortunately, really cost lives. And it's hard to sometimes make those decisions when you're in high pressured situations. However, in these cases, it's like those were like some assumptions that if you were able to, you could have rethought it and you could have maybe challenged those assumptions instead. So if you haven't read that section of the book, it was towards the end of the book, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. And it really highlighted the fact that sometimes there's self-limiting behaviors. Sometimes there's behaviors like us biting our tongues. We're not voicing our opinion. There's a pressure to conform to authority, right? And you just don't want to deviate because you don't want to be shamed. You don't want that backlash. But many times by you challenging assumptions or speaking up, it's really what is going to be needed for there to be that self-check or that recheck of things. So, don't be afraid to go ahead and bring those up, or really just encourage for your organization to be an organization that encourages people to speak up and speak out, that encourages questions, encourages the open door policy where someone can come in and just talk to you about what they think. When you normalize vulnerability, it will really help you to understand all different facets of people and what they think. And those diverse thoughts are very helpful for you. So many people have some ideas that came up in the book for your teams, or do an ask me anything meeting or something. Coffee chats, maybe go out on coffee chats with you and your team, share your development goals, share your progress. He says, don't look at best practices, look at better ones. Always seek to get better practices, and don't always look at your past results because those can breed overconfidence. If you know you knocked it out of the park for let's say an event, or you had awesome, amazing results with engagement, don't always assume it's going to be the same and that you have to get better. Just rethink the strategy and rethink how it should be. Always try to encourage that thought process. So those are some of the areas in the book. At the end of the book, Adam said that rethinking liberates us to do more than update our knowledge and opinions. It's a tool for leading a more fulfilling life. So those were like my points. And I was hoping we had like some discussion in between, but that's okay. I know you guys probably are shy today. It's okay. I totally get that. I really appreciate you being here. I really do. I do want to let you know that if you haven't been a part of the Planners on Purpose book club, or not book club, but our community, go ahead and join that community. You can just, if you're on our page right now, you can go to the menu and pick groups, and you will see the Planners on Purpose community there. Go ahead and click join. It would be great to have you in that community, where we have just thoughtful discussions there as well. And I want you to mark your calendars on May 18th for a virtual open house. We have a virtual open house at Planners on Purpose. It is going to be within the Facebook group. I would love it if you were to join. You will be seeing those invites come out pretty soon on Facebook, or if you're a part of the newsletter, you'll also see it coming out on the newsletter. But it would be an opportunity for just for me to share kind of what Planners on Purpose is about, some of the offerings at Planners on Purpose. I know it's not always easy to follow social media and all the things, and many of us aren't on social media all of the time or checking every single email. So this would be a really great opportunity for me to share a little bit more about what Planners on Purpose is, and and what I'm doing. So I would love to see you there. But again, if you do have any points that you wanted to make, or if you wanted to go ahead and share any comments about the book, I would love it if you would go ahead and do that in the chat. I would definitely catch that and respond to you to there. And I just would challenge you to don't ever be caught on the wrong side of an assumption, right? So rethink. And I think that's what I've learned the most from the book, is that instead of making assumptions about something, someone, the work that I do, or the future, definitely rethink that and not always just assume. And that will hopefully land you in a much, much better place than if you were to assume. Okay. So that would be what I would leave you with. And I think that is all I had for today. I really just appreciate you being here, and I will say goodnight to you. And I hope you continue to celebrate Cinco de Mayo with your margaritas and with all the things. So thank you very much, and we will see you all very, very soon. Bye now.